why this guy without having worked him out?
Yeah, obviously feel fortunate to get Jacobe at this spot. Maybe he thought he was going earlier. Maybe, the mocks had him going earlier. But a kid we followed, since high school. I think he first popped up on I think they won the Geico High School National Tournament in the States. He played for Link. And so just always been a winner, tough, kind of, fits the mold of a two-way Raptor player, can make a shot, can play defense. And so, some guy we followed for a while, but we initially think he'd be there at 19, so we feel great.
He does seem to have that kind of big personality, like the Scotty Barnes. You look for that kind of guys to make that group? No,
I think, you want serious guys. You want guys that want to win. I think we're all probably trying to figure out this generation a little bit with, the personalities and how many of those in the locker room. But no, this was just a good basketball talent play.
Any hesitation taking a guy that you weren't able to get in for a workout? Like, were you able to interview him at the combine?
Yeah, so we have our staff here that does all the intel, and so we had some people that spent. Luke probably spent, I don't know, maybe a week at Baylor earlier in the year. I went down and met him in Baylor, and so we had a comfort level from that. You want to do your due diligence, and it's tough when you don't get to bring a kid up here, but we feel comfortable.
He didn't have great shooting efficiency at Baylor. My understanding is before that he was an explosive offensive player. What do you attribute that to, and what do you see him as an offensive player moving forward?
Yeah, I think that's why it's important to scout him in the amateur level. And then I think maybe if you look at the splits, it's a little bit different early in the season, and he may have been dealing with some knee stuff. But yeah, no, you got to make shots in this league, and you can't just sort of have the reputation of a shooter. You have to do it. So I think obviously that's our bet with him.
You mentioned him being potentially a two-way player. What do you see his defensive potential as being?
Yeah. So obviously guard ones and twos. I think he's got pretty good length. I think there's just sort of a inner toughness when you watch him, and he rebounds the ball well. So not afraid to kind of stick his nose in there. So yeah.
He talked about wanting to make an immediate impact. Do you see him as a guy that could come in and get some minutes off the bench potentially and make that impact?
Yeah, we always take these guys. I think Grady's a good example last year, right? You come in and it's going to be up and down, and so I think that's probably more of the expectation is you may be able to come in right away, but can you kind of sustain it throughout the course of a season, especially as a young player, and the physicality and the travel and all that. But no, yeah, we're obviously taking these kids because we think they can come in and play.
I know you guys generally draft best player available as opposed to drafting for need, but this is a pretty guard-heavy roster and another guard now added to it. How might that impact your decisions moving forward? Obviously, a decision coming up with Bruce Brown and then a couple of guards hitting free agency a few days later.
Yeah, I think we're still in sort of best available. I'm not sure we have enough talent, to say, hey, this is what we're going to go forward with, or this is, we can start picking and choosing. So I think we're still sort of, amassing the group, and then we can kind of let them battle it out and compete against them, as opposed to saying we took this position and now we need to kind of, have it affect our future decisions.
Have the calls already started for 31? And is it how nice is it to be in this position where you're kind of...
We had some long debates in there. We were like, should we trade to get into the late 20s or should we have a little fun with 31? So I think when we did the deal with New York, we knew this was sort of a benefit of having 31 was to kind of be able to have this next 18 hours to sort of field calls. I think what typically happens right in the draft is it very quickly turns to round 2 and you have 2 minutes. And I think just logistically you can't take all the calls you'd want to, and so now we have some time. We also have some time to sort of consider our list as we think about 31 tomorrow, so we'll probably have some pretty big fights tomorrow in the morning about who we would take, and then simultaneously take these calls and say, okay, could we get multiple picks, could we move back a little bit, still get the same guy. But yeah, I don't know, it's a bit of a novelty for all of us here to have 2 days of the draft and see what happens.
Are there pros and cons to being in this position? Like, is it possible to maybe overthink in this situation, or are you just happy to have more time to make, a more measured decision?
I don't know, we'll see. I think you said you'd like to have the more time. I'd say it has to be better than the 2 minutes that you normally would have. But yeah, we kind of almost got into it there back in the room about who we're going to take, and I think we all just decided let's sleep on it. Like, it's probably not, you don't want to fight over it now.
Did you get I mean, with 31 specifically, but in general, did you sense it was quieter than normal just because everybody knows there will be 8 hours to talk about it tomorrow morning?
Yeah, I think even teams kind of set their boards, knowing that they had tomorrow to set up the second day of their boards, and so it kind of more piecemeal. So I think that's probably maybe easier on us or gives a bit more time.
Were there a lot of fights about who to take at 19?
No, Jacobe was pretty clearly the kind of best available, to Josh's point. It wasn't a really positional fit need.
A lot of the talk going into this draft was about how wide open everything was, unpredictable, and Dan talked about it the other day. Is that sort of the way that things played out in your view?
Yeah, there was no consensus, right? I think even the number one pick was probably not really known until, recently. You could talk about the draft. It's sort of, people felt like, I think probably when it got to like 9 or 10, we felt like it was kind of all the same after that. There's probably some group at the top. I think it was hard to predict 19 because there was no consensus before. So like we're sitting there at 12 and 13. I'm like, okay, is Jacobe still going to be there? When some people had Jacobe in the top 10 or some people had him in the lottery. So there's always that game of trying to, game plan it out.
Were there any conversations you had with people from Baylor that really stuck out to you about his character or his game or anything that really stuck out from Baylor's side of things?
Yeah, I think just obviously him coming from Link, so he comes from a pretty high pedigree high school program. And then I think now, for those of you who follow college, like Baylor's become one of the premier winning programs in basketball. So I think those kind of things that he valued from the recruiting standpoint, but also decisions he made. And so thoughtful kid, cares about the right things.
What do you anticipate the next 16 hours are gonna look like? Are you going home from here not talking about it until tomorrow, or come back early? What's it gonna look like?
I don't know. It's probably a good psychological decision-making question. Yeah, I'm going to try and not think about it until probably I wake up, and then try and come in here fresh tomorrow and not have sort of the preconceived of what we thought, who's supposedly on our board right now. Like, can we come in and kind of debate the top 3 or 4 players left for 31?
Is Dan upset that he can't make his two-way calls tonight?
No, I think everybody's happy that we're not up till 3. Because, no, that's what we used to do this press conference, but then we'd go back and do all the two-ways. And so I think, I don't know, the draft's at 4 tomorrow. Yeah, so it'll be a regular work day.
Something else going on at night, apparently.
I know. I didn't think they knew the right date. They knew the date when they made this idea. We're not going there.
Thanks for watching the Toronto Raptors YouTube channel. Check out our latest videos and subscribe for more.
Trent answers back. Gary, sidestep, 3.